Hi, it's Shannon, your dog flight nanny. I wanted to tell you a story about my last dog flight, which was to New York, upstate New York, Messina. I had to drive here to Dallas with a dog that was 11 months old, and his name was Boomer, and it was quite the interesting trip. I like to put the dog in a dog bed with a little pillow pad so that they don't have to be in the flight bag before I fly. And we left here, and he was the most chill dog I had ever traveled with, and he had went to the bathroom before we left, and we got about 2.5 hours into the trip, and I was in road construction, and he bumper to bumper, kind of stop and go, and I had my GPS on my phone, and all of a sudden he decided to get super antsy and wanted to climb in my lap and mess with my teacup, and I kept pushing him back in his seat to sit down, and all of a sudden he was kind of climbing up on the back of my seat and scratching it on my passenger side, and I was trying to push him down to make him sit down, and he did not want to sit his bottom down. And I looked over and noticed that his piddle pad was kind of scrunched up. So I went to yank the piddle pad, and when I did, a pile of poop flung and stuck to the dash of my car, right where my air conditioner buttons are. Stuck. Flew, plop, stuck right to my dash. And instantly, right below my air conditioning vents, instantly the smell hit me and I started to gag. And panicked as I was, I yanked the rest of the piddle pad out from underneath him and scooped up the poop and threw it in the floorboard, grabbed napkins from the side of my door, and squeezed some hand sanitizer on them and wiped my knobs off, and then used the last napkin with hand sanitizer to wipe the poop off of my fingernails, and threw that in the floor. And he sat back down and was as calm as can be. Well, after I did all of that, I instantly busted up laughing because, one, it registered to me that he was antsy because he needed to use the bathroom. And that should have been my sign because he had not made any kind of movement at all prior to that. But I was so focused on the traffic that it didn't cross my mind. So it was my fault. Second, he did not want to sit down because he didn't want to sit on his poop. Can't blame him for that. And had I not yanked at that piddle pad, the poop, which I couldn't have done this or made this happen again in a million years, would not have flung its way to my dashboard and stuck on my buttons. And if I had had the wits about me, I would have taken a picture of this big pile of poop stuck to my buttons. Wish I had hindsight to show everybody because it was quite hilarious. But I was in such a hurry to just get the poop off my dash that I didn't think to do it. But after I got it all cleaned up, I spent the next 30 minutes laughing hysterically in my car at how funny and ironic it was, and wishing that there had been some kind of car cam in my car to have captured the whole thing, because it would have been hilarious. So once I got done laughing, I called Jessica to tell her the story, in which she laughed and said, "I'm sorry. That's awful, but however, it's really funny." And I'm like, no, it is funny. You can go ahead and laugh. So that was my car ride, in which I got closer to Dallas. I stopped and got some wet wipes and continued to deep clean my buttons on my car and the dog's paws and whatnot. And then I didn't know this, the hotel I was staying in was pet friendly. So I put the dog in my airplane bag and smuggled him into the hotel room. And I got there about 6:30 or 7 that night and had to set my alarm for 1:30 in the morning to catch my flight. And I didn't go to sleep till about 9 or 9:30. So I only got a few hours of sleep. And I woke up to messages that all of my flights were canceled. So me and the dog got stuck in the hotel room in Dallas. and I only brought limited amount of clothing. So I stayed in my pajamas, still thinking that the dog was not allowed to be there. So I stayed in my PJs, smuggled the dog out in the airport bag, and drove him off the property to let him use the bathroom. I did that throughout half of the day until I realized it was a pet-friendly hotel, which would have saved me a whole lot of trouble had I realized that sooner, because I wouldn't have had to leave the property in my pajamas. He was a great dog, super great traveler, but we spent a whole day in the hotel and then set the alarm, which had the same itinerary, to get up at 1:30 the next morning. Made it to New York. Everything went fine. Delivered the dog, but then stayed the night. My flights out the next day were delayed by 2.5 hours. It's a tiny 8-passenger plane, the only way in and there and out, which I have a picture of it's 8 passengers and 2 pilots. I have a picture of the flight of the pilot reading the safety measures from his phone before leaving. You would think he'd have it memorized at this point. And then we flew out of there, and I was supposed to only be in Baltimore for about 4.5 hours. That flight got delayed 3 times. Ended up being there for almost 8, because the plan was to get to Dallas and then drive all the way home through the night, which wasn't a great schedule to begin with, but that flight got delayed 3 times. So I ended up not getting to Dallas till about 1 in the morning. So I ended up getting a hotel and driving back the next day. So anyway, kind of a crazy trip from start to finish. Still love delivering these precious puppies to people. Nothing makes me happier than to see someone get their new puppy and the joy on their face. But sometimes it is quite the crap show, literally, to get these dogs from here to you. It's not always easy to get them from A to Z, but it's always eventful and sometimes quite entertaining. So I just wanted to share that last story because it was funny, but very, very eventful, and nothing went smoothly at all. But yet a dog was delivered. The people were happy. The dog's doing great, and I made it back home about 2 days later than as planned. But anyway, just a funny story that I wanted to share of my travels. So anyway, hope everyone's doing well, and God bless you all.